G'day, battlers, and today we are jumping in to take a look at another meta. This time we're going to be taking a look at the Summer Cup, which is coming to the Go Battle League in August. And you may be wondering, Steve, it is not even the end of June. What are you doing talking about this meta that comes out in August? And there is a reason, but first off, I do just want to mention that we will be talking about what this meta is, what the best Pokemon are, but I wanted to get this, get this in first, so that most people do see it as possible. And that is the reason that we are talking about the Summer Cup at the end of June, is because at the very start of July, the 3rd of July, Sunday, there is this tournament being hosted by NHOF with some of the amazing women battlers from this community. Essentially, it's a fundraising effort for Planned Parenthood. I don't think that I need to re-go over what is going on in the United States at the moment, so this is a really important thing, and I'll leave all of the relevant links in the description down below. Essentially, it's going to be a Summer Cup tournament. If you want to get involved, you're either sponsoring or participating in the tournament, definitely hit up NHOF on Discord or Twitter. I'll leave a link to the Twitter post in the description of this video, because that has the donation link that you can donate to prior, but the main sort of event is going to be that tournament on 2 p.m. EDT Sunday, this coming Sunday, 6 p.m. UTC, and of course showing like all of these lovely people. So we've got Need for Speedy, we've got Miss Mystic running production, Gabby Snyder, hot off the press from NAIC, I've got DeFi and a Final Boss AJ as well. So a bunch of fantastic people, and it's definitely worth checking out and worth donating to if you can. But with that said, let's jump into what this meta actually is, and that is the Summer Cup. So Great League CP 1500 and under, allowing typings of normal, fire, water, grass, electric, and bug. So similar-ish to the Sylph Arena Rainbow Cup that was held a few years ago, but a little bit more open. So essentially, like, we have a normal type, and veteran PvP players should sort of be going, I know a normal type, and its name rhymes with Lickitung. And yes, there is going to be a lot of Lickitung in this meta, but not only that, it is another normal type mainstay, and that is going to be Vigoroth coming in as well. And then we have that fire, water, grass sort of triangle where they're all fighting each other. But let's jump into the meta simplified infographic, take a look at what we're working with here, and thumbnail. There we go. Okay, so essentially we've got 5 groups on the screen, 5 main groups, and then we have a sort of secret 6th group hanging out down the bottom. On the top left, we have what I'm going to call like the Alaskan group, because you've got like ice types in Walrein and Abomasnow, and you also have Pachirisu, which is that regional, mostly sort of, you know, Alaska and Canada. I've actually called it the Canadian group as well. But it's sort of that, the cold region Pokemons. And then in the bottom left, we have the Flyers. So we have Pelipper, Noctowl, Zapdos, and Tropius. In the very center, we have Vigoroth and his cronies. I've got Obstagoon and Beware coming in as the sort of other fighters that there is reason to not go for Vigoroth, or to go for Vigoroth plus another fighter, but we'll talk about that as we go. In the top right, we have this sort of hodgepodge of a group with Lickitung, Diggersby, and Credilli. I'll talk about that group, and then the other group that's actually also technically a hodgepodge, but there's only 2 in it, is Araquanid and Ninetales. So let's just start diving into what is going on here. And let's start off with this sort of, like, we've sort of got 2 triangles on the screen. So let's start with the left triangle. I need to remember that this direction is reversed. The left triangle, which has the ice types, the flyers, and the fighters. And this shouldn't really require much of an explanation. Fighting types, generally, I mean, only one of these actually has the fighting type. Obstagoon and Vigoroth are just sort of in this category because they have access to counter the best fast move in the entire game, high damage, high energy generation, and also really super effective to a lot of things in Pokemon Go. So Walrein and Abomasnow take super effective damage from counter, and Beware has access to superpower, which if you can lands it is also going to do absolute bulk damage. Pachirisu is sort of not quite fitting into that regime. Pachirisu does actually, it's able to just barely, and I mean barely, win out the one shield matchup against Vigoroth. So I think Vigoroth and Pachirisu is a really tight matchup. It might depend on who gets a little bit of an energy advantage, who can get this, you know, body slam off before they get their discharges through, that sort of thing. So that one might be a little bit back and forth. Don't trust this arrow as gospel. Don't trust any of these arrows as gospel. They are just sort of a guide to get a basic idea about how this Summer Cup is going to go. Now, the Flyers, it shouldn't come as a surprise either that ice types and electric types are both going to be quite good against these flying types. Pelipper especially does not want to run into Pachirisu at all because it is so hecking super effective. Electric against this water and flying typings, it's just not good. nothing too special there. And then we have them beating the fighters, which shouldn't be too much of a surprise either. Again, there are a few cases where this can go the other way. I think Vigoroth in particular does fight back a fair bit just because a counter charges up energy so fast. Body slams come off really hot and heavy, and also has that same type attack bonus. So really spammy. A lot of damage, packs it on. We've seen these sort of matchups before and really can put the hurt onto a lot of those Pokemon, even when they're doing like a good bit of damage back. On the other side though, it's a little less straightforward. We have the Lickitung, Credilli, and Diggersby group. Now, these three have the arrow coming from the fighting group, and that is because they are all taking that big damage from the fighters. Lickitung has the normal typing, and really the fighters are sort of Lickitung's main counter, and sort of the main thing, like, you know that Licktung's going to be all around in this meta, so you're like, what do I bring to counter that? A fighter. Generally, that's going to be Vigoroth or Obstagoon. I'll talk more about why Obstagoon could be an option, but Vigoroth is sort of the main option just because it is so good, so spammy with that body slam access. And yeah, they're generally going to have a pretty good time up against all three of these Pokemon. We've got the arrow down from this group down to Ninetales and Araquanid. Now, this is sort of a weird arrow. Lickitung has access to Power Whip, so it does pretty nicely up against Araquanid, even though it does have the Bug typing as well as the Water typing. But Licktung's sort of just able to out-bulk, even though they're both incredibly bulky. It's a long matchup. If you ever get yourself stuck in that one, it'll take a while. Ninetales doesn't really just... It sort of just doesn't out-bulk the Lickitung. Diggersby has access to the Earthquake, which is going to do a lot of damage to the Ninetales. Not as good of a matchup against Araquanid, because Araquanid does have Bubble Beams that are going to be super effective back. But again, these are two really bulky Pokemon, and it's going to take a long time to actually get through, and someone's probably going to be able to switch out before the matchup is actually over. And then there's Credilli. Credilli has access to, you know, Grass Knot and Stone Edge with both really good moves. Plus it has the Rock typing, so it isn't as weak to the traditional things that Grass type is weak to. Like Fire, doesn't care about it as much, so it can get to that Stone Edge and really just destroy that Ninetales as well. So these are sort of bonus mons a little bit. But then we have a Ninetales and Araquanid group pointing that arrow towards the fighters, especially because that Obstagoon has the Dark typing. It doesn't like the Bug from Araquanid. Ninetales is generally sort of works a little bit as an anti-fighter. I'm sort of finding that to be the case when I put a lot of these meta simplified infographics together. So generally those matchups are sort of going to go that way. But then I should mention the ghost types down the bottom as well. And this is where Obstagoon and Beware really sort of shine a little bit, where Vigoroth does not. Trevenant and Alolan Marowak, who are allowed because of their grass typing and fire typing respectively, don't care much about Vigoroth. Trevenant doesn't care at all. Body Slam and Bulldoze, neither of them is going to do much, whereas it's able to get those Seed Bombs off pretty quickly and do a lot of damage to that Vigoroth. Obstagoon has access to Night Slash, so it is just going to be pow-powing away at both ghosts, and Beware has access to that Shadow Claw fast move, which is also going to be doing that super effective damage. And you're not really going to be able to do much with your charge moves as Beware though. Like, you've got Stomp and Superpower as your most likely moves. It does actually have access to Payback, I believe, so maybe that's one route you could go, but I sort of think that Superpower Stomp probably makes the most sense against the general meta, especially because I'm not sure how many ghost types you are going to see. If it is one of those sort of teams of 6 formats outside of Go Battle League, there might be more reason to have that Payback, there might be more ghosts around, but in Go Battle League, it's probably a little less likely that you are going to see ghosts, especially because of that prevalence of Lickitung. It just kind of is how it is. But this is sort of the basic snapshot of the Summer Cup. I know it's winter in the Southern Hemisphere, so it's, you know, I'm in my jacket. It's a little bit of a weird time to have the Summer Cup, but it is a Northern Hemisphere game. That is generally how things go. But this is, like, there are some other Pokemon in this meta that could definitely appear. Examples, I mean, Blaziken is actually rated higher on PvPoke than Obstagoon is, and that has a little bit more play against some of the flying types like Tropius, but then it is even worse against things like Pelipper. So you have to sort of give and take on that front as well. And then, of course, I actually don't have an arrow between the two top groups and the bottom groups. That's because you can sort of like think about it in your head, and it's very much clear why it doesn't all go one way. For example, in the bottom two groups, we have Ninetales, who's going to be really good against Tropius, not so good against Pelipper with a really spammy Water Weather Ball. So, and Araquanid has some similar matchups where Tropius is a little bit better. But things like Noctowl just sort of take the cake away from it. And then a similar thing with the Ice types and Electric types. Lickitung does okay against all of them. Diggersby is able to take out the Pachirisu matchup, but doesn't love the Walrein or the Abomasnow matchup as much. And Credilli can get some good damage off against all three, especially with the Stone Edge being super effective to the Ice types. But yeah, it's a little bit back and forth, and it's not quite so clear. So sort of pick what Pokemon you want to use, and then from there decide what weaknesses you need to cover, and then from there you can dive into the matchups a little bit more on PvPoke. But again, that's kind of all I have to say about the Summer Cup. Again, do check out that Twitter link that I'll have in the description down below, because it is well worthwhile to check out that tournament. That's the second time I've got the left and right wrong in this video. Really well worthwhile. Just go follow Enhoff's Twitch in advance, just so you get that Twitch notification as well, because it really is sure to be a fun event, and a little bit of a chance to learn what is working well in the Summer Cup as well. So definitely worth tuning into. And again, if you want to get involved more than just watching, do contact Enhoff on either Twitter or Discord. But with that said, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially the subscribe one. Thank you to my patrons and supporters over on Twitch. I'll move my little boob out of the way. Why do I still even have this Twitch link here? Like, I haven't streamed on Twitch in actually I did stream like a month ago, technically. But, you know, I'm mostly a YouTube guy. So subscribe, and yeah, if you want to check out some other videos, you can check those ones out over there. I'm not sure what I've put there. Whoa, actually no, right there is the shoutcast of the grand finals in the Melbourne Play Pokemon Regionals, which is definitely a very fun time. It's like Zoe recorded it with her camera, and then she's just sent me the footage, and I've just put my face on top of it, and it's worth the watch. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one, and good luck in your Summer Cup, especially if you're jumping into that tournament this weekend.